is very powerful, and I think that white people in general have done a very good job at sort of convincing black men, mainly because, as we said in the last live stream, these are the main people that are dating out, that what they can produce is not good enough. So, you know, they have to seek something else, something of a better.
I don't think white men convinced them anything. I think what they saw in their own community convinced them of that, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it is that people are coming up against. There's people who have no issue with black people. They just don't want to be around a lot of the nonsense. And I don't really, you know, at the end of the day, that is what the majority of what we're dealing with is. I mean, until that can ever be fixed, there ain't going to be no community to be giving nothing back to or building anything, because the people within it, if we're going to talk about giving money away, those same people, they give their money away to other communities anyway. That's one of the reasons why, you know, if he was to give them all this money anyway, a lot of them are going to go give it to other groups of people regardless, and they can have a black wife. They'll still go do it. Not like most of these people, not like most of these black couples who are together are sitting there building up all this infrastructure. So what does it matter?
But it sounds like low.
There aren't a lot of successful, from what I can see, black couples that are together anyway. So are you saying that black couple, you can't, like, as a black man, you can't find something like for like within your community?
Pretty much.
Well, the thing is,
despite the fact that you're.
Let me say this though, because and I don't mean this like the as a derogatory way though, right? But like, this is an example of cooning, right? Like, this whole concept is as though you need to go around white people in order to be with white people, because you're incapable of being with your own. Because essentially what you're saying is white people are better. You associate black community with negativity and buffoonery and foolishness. But if I go with the whites, it's because I want to elevate myself. I'm leveling up. Like, that's the epitome of like cooning. Like,
I mean, except for the fact that by every metric you are leveling up. So I mean, unless you're going to just completely remove logic out of the equation, that's just quite simply what it is. I mean, like, if you're going to be hanging around in the black community, are you really? How many black neighborhoods are there that are seeing that are great neighborhoods to be living? Let's just be real. There's a difference between like, see, because that mentality, as far as I'm concerned, is the coon mentality. That's you trying to tell people that basically they can't do nothing and you ain't black enough if you don't stick around in the fuckery. Why should you have to do that?
I'm not saying necessarily the neighborhood. I'm saying the partner, because we're talking about, can you marry out and be pro-black? So I'm saying about, you know, someone who's of equal, you can't find a partner that's of equal status to you within the community. That's what I was saying.
Okay, I can easily, here's the thing, I can easily throw the same question back. Where the heck are all of these pro-black love couples leading the charge, showing us an example? Where they at? Because as far as I'm concerned, as you just said, most of the people who have got the prosperity, a lot of them are dating out. So if I'm looking at the examples of what is happening with successful black people, that's what I'm seeing. Now, I understand that maybe that's not the best image to have in terms of preserving, you know, whatever you might think of as blackness. But even that, you've got people confused. You've got people who say mixed race people black. You've got people who say, like, you know, like people who've got 1/4 black and black. Like, black people don't even know what the fuck black is at this point. So how are we going to talk about what's pro-black when people don't even know what they are? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the fact of the matter is I don't really care what most of these people think, because most of them ain't doing nothing in their life that's anything to look at and actually care about. The fact of the matter is if you just look at the simple results, the people who have got actual power in this world, the people who have got the ability to do more things for black people, well, they just happen to be dating out. Now, we can sit there and ask why that's happening. But the thing is that when we start to analyze, the reasons as to why that's happening, we can't ever have an honest conversation, because all of this nonsense about, oh, this is cooning, or this is just, you can't accept yourself, or you're too weak for this, or blah, 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 blah. It's just too much nonsense. So to be perfectly honest, yeah, go on.
I mean, I'm not saying that anyone's weak. I just think that people, when they reach a certain level, they take a look back behind their shoulder at the black community and just think, oh, this is too much work, and, you know, just don't sort of bother. I think I disagree with the point that you're making, that it's mostly black people. I think it's black men, if we're going to be specific. I can think of a few black women who are successful that are married to actually black men. I can't say the same the other way around. So if we're going to have an honest conversation, and this is not me being biased, or maybe it is.
Could that not just be because there's more successful black men than there is black women?
Well, there's more women. There's more women than men. So
it doesn't matter if there's not more of them. It doesn't matter if there's not more of them. If there's not more of them that are successful, there's not more of them that these guys are looking at.
Why do you have to date someone Why do you have to date someone that's successful? Can't you just date someone?
I don't know. Why do the women have to date someone who's successful when they're successful?
No, it's different, isn't it? It's a male and female. It's a gender thing.
Okay, so if it's different, then by the same logic, maybe the men are picking to date with a different dating strategy, because for them it's different.
If we use sort of other celebrities that I know, not because I'm obsessed with them, but because we're using them as a marker. Tiger Woods married a nanny, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to marry someone that's of your same success rate. Once they have a nice disposition, and they're family orientated, and they've got, you know, all the qualities that you're looking for in terms of personality, why does the woman in the black community have to have the same economic standard as you?
No,
is that to me?
To Myth, really, because Myth was kind of on the whole tip of it's probably best to, I won't say flee, but yeah, it's not worth.
No, I don't think it's best to flee because I don't think that's going to resolve anything ultimately. But at the same time, I think that there's the issue is that, like, we have to look at whether or not what we're dealing with. You're like, what is it we're dealing with? My personal belief, and I'm just going to keep saying it, is that there has to be a different class of black people next to the one we currently got. It's just that simple. And unless that happens, it doesn't matter what any of this other discussion is. It's not going to have any longevity to it because you won't have a culture of people that actually value what you're talking about. If you're saying, well, we have to build up the community, you have to have people who care about that first. The average black person, regardless of who they're dating, does not care about that, period. So if I'm seeing a dude who's dating a white woman and he seems to value that, I'm going to value him more. Because here's the thing. If you got a guy who creates some initiatives, okay, he's got a white wife, cool. Not the perfect image of pro-blackness. I understand that. But you see, by him doing what he's doing, it makes it easier now for the next black guy who maybe does want to be with a black woman to come up and have something. You get what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not going to just start discrediting these people or trying to push them away when what they're doing provides more opportunities for us as a collective. I just don't get the mentality of trying to, you know, trying to act as like that's why I just don't, like, if it was me personally, I don't care about the label, because if I cared about the label, I just wouldn't bother. Because most of the black people will just be like, well, based on what you're saying, you're a coon, or you're da-da-da-da. When reality is, I'm actually trying to think about the things that's actually going to help preserve people far longer than most of the shit they're talking about. The stuff they're talking about is some temporary stuff to feel good about themselves and feel like they ain't a sellout. But what the hell does that really matter? Black people have been keeping it real for a long time and they ain't got nowhere with it. So what does that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really get that mentality. I think we have to stop being so, we're clinging on to these old, you know, dysfunctional norms that we've grown used to. And it's not doing much. It's not to say you need to go and, because I get it, there are a lot of black people who, I will agree, they are trying to find validation through whiteness. I agree with that. I definitely think that definitely goes on. I've seen a lot of that nonsense, right? You've got black people who don't even like that they're black, or, you know, they don't feel comfortable being like, I get it. I know that that's something that exists with some of these people. But the issue I have is that, this is what I'm saying, it's based on actions. Because those type of black people who think like that, they're not going to be trying to help the community in any way. They're not going to be usually trying to donate or give people anything. They're just going to completely separate and remove themselves from black people in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that you need to do that. I'm just saying that you need to think in a way that isn't the typical black way that we have right now, because it's not doing anything. So if that means that you need to go and look at what white or Asian people are doing to get some inspiration, okay, that doesn't make you a sellout. It doesn't make you a coon. If you go and date someone over there as well, that also doesn't make you a sellout, and it doesn't make you a coon, especially if in doing that, it creates an environment that makes it easier for you to help black people.
So
all I care about is the results. I just care about the results. I don't care about the sentimental nonsense. Who cares what they're doing it for? I don't care if they're doing it just because it means that they have a better sex life and that makes their life less stress. I don't care if the end result is that they're going to do something to actually help black people in the long run.
But the black community is actually worse off than it was previously. So how is that?
But you're saying that like as if that just these few people who were successful are going to save everything. The reason why it's worse off is because of our values. It's that simple. And the thing that you're not understanding is that it doesn't matter whether a black person is with another black person or not. Majority of them just have fucked up values anyway.
I disagree because even speaking to people that were around in the 70s and 60s, they'll tell you that the picture of the black community was a lot different than it is now.
Okay, but we're not in those times. Every community was different back then. China wasn't where it was back then. White people weren't dealing with social justice warriors and white kill all men and all that. Like, everyone was in a different position because it was decades ago. Of course it was different. But what you're not understanding is, again, look at the values. Look at what people valued back in those times versus now. It's a completely different system, a completely different culture. It was not the exact same stuff. You see, like, I'm not saying we have to remove everything about us that makes us black, but we have to stop thinking that, you know, that all the stuff we've got right now, like, we just have to stop being dishonest. It's mostly just nonsense. It is. And I don't know why, you know, the other dude was saying, like, that's coonery to point that out. It isn't. That's the reason why we ain't going to progress nowhere.